So just last week we made a video talking about the recent Shanks and General Yonko news, and I was pretty much negative in that video outside of just coverage of the news itself, because I'm tired of the editors revealing things that we know are going to appear in the story outside of the story. Or if we shouldn't believe what it is that they're saying and it's going to be wrong, why even say it at all? You don't need to hype us up about things that we are already hyped for. This news is really nothing like that at all. This is the most strange and interesting news that we've probably gotten for at least a very long time. So today I want to talk about the huge shadow of dragon that's disturbing the world. And PS guys, those are not my words. Hey YouTube, JoeBoy here. So guys, One Piece Volume 5 dropped recently and was translated by Eaton Bobby. I'm not sure how to pronounce that, but it is a user from a Japanese website. And we're just going to talk about one part of this magazine that is just, I think, by far the most interesting. Reading this is a journey, let me tell you. However, as far as I'm aware, there is nobody else who has translated this. So with only one translator, we have to take this with a little bit of a grain of salt, because there might be minor mistranslations here or there that could prove significant when read in English. So yeah guys, let's just jump right into it, and the header of this entire thing is the huge shadow of dragon that's disturbing the world. And the first section is called Wano Country and Dragon in quotations. The opponent that Zoro defeated in Thriller Bark, Ryuma, is said by legend to have cut down a western dragon with his sword, a sword that is now in Zoro's hands. In Punk Hazard, Zoro already killed a western dragon as well. Now Zoro and the Straw Hats are in Ryuma's homeland, Wano, to take down one of the Yonko Kaido. Now that Zoro has obtained Shusui from Ryuma after their duel, the possibility might arise that a new legend of slaying an eastern dragon might be born. So yeah, let's stop here for a moment before we move on to the next section. I think that a lot of people can probably interpret this last sentence as, it's talking about Zoro acquiring Shusui, defeating Ryuma, and then goes on to say that a new legend of slaying an eastern dragon might be born. And I think that people might connect this with Zoro, but I feel like this is more general. Like, once Kaido is defeated, similar to how Ryuma gained fame having killed a western style dragon, whoever defeats Kaido would become of similar legend in Wano, having defeated a different kind of dragon. But I think that even this thought becomes kinda suspect as we continue to read further. The next section is called Western Dragon and Eastern Dragon, similar yet different. Ryuma was known and appreciated for the legend of killing a western dragon, yet now the country is guarded by an eastern dragon, the wise King Kaido. In the time of 23 years, the concept of dragon went from enemy to that of guardian. It's not just a change in naming, but perhaps a change in society as well. In the current Wano, the idea of opening the border and the ideology of the Kozuki clan are all considered evil, so perhaps it was all part of the political movement to embellish the concept of an eastern dragon. So yeah, here guys, I just want to throw in that there's clearly two different kinds of dragon, Eastern, Western. Kaido is an Eastern. A lot of people assume that Kaido ate a fruit. I'm not entirely certain about that. Certainly, Momonosuke is considered to have eaten an artificial Eastern dragon fruit. So it just makes me wonder whether or not we will see possibly a Western dragon devil fruit. It also makes me think about the significance of the different kinds of dragons when it comes to the One Piece world. Devil fruits, if you consider Kaido to have eaten one, clearly originate from something real that really exists. I mean, the dragon Ryuma killed, the Western dragon, was clearly just an actual thing that existed in the One Piece world. So it makes me think, where do you find Eastern and Western real dragons in the world? Are they all extinct? Will that be, something significant? If we ever get to visit Kano Country in the One Piece world, which is based off of China, whereas Wano is based off of Japan, will we get to meet, or will they have natural residents being Eastern dragons? According to Brownbeard, the Celestial Dragons adored the dragon in Punk Hazard to the point that they gave it a name. They also used the, quote, hoof of the flying dragon as their own mark. At the entry of Punk Hazard, the gate featured 2 large horns just like those of Kaido. If the artificial devil fruit was made based on Kaido's body, then it makes sense that Vegapunk would draw the Dragon Hazard symbol based on him. Guys, you heard that right. As we're talking about dragons and Wano and Ryuma and Kaido, all of a sudden they put the celestial dragons in here. Guys, what I'm taking from this is that dragons are incredibly important to the history of these celestial dragons. There's some connection there. But of course it makes sense because they call themselves the celestial dragons. There's a reason why Oda chose for their symbol to be the hoof of the flying dragon. To me, this gives me the impression that the celestial dragons at some point in their past worshipped dragons. That was some sort of god or deity or sacred animal to them. Perhaps similar to the citizens of Wano now. And this gives us a further connection if you take this back to the section beforehand, where the Kozuki really stood against the dragons throughout their history. And as the shogun deposed of them and turned everything that they stood for as evil, he brought with him a new dragon to rule over Wano. So in this case, Orochi stands with the dragons, the Kozuki, who we know were the sort of allies of the ancient kingdom, and to this day allies of the Strats, stood against dragons, and you have the celestial dragons again working with dragons, worshipping them, or something like that. Dragon equals bad? Question mark. It may just be purely symbolism though. The dragon being more so the symbol of the evil groups within the story, not necessarily dragons themselves. But yeah, this leads us to the second part, where it talks about Punk Hazard having its gates featuring horns just like those of Kaido. Then it goes on to say this: if the artificial devil fruit was made based on Kaido's body, let's pause here for a moment. This was a huge theory for many years about the possibility that Kaido was actually taken to Punk Hazard and experimented on, and that was really the source of the DNA for the dragons created in Punk Hazard. And also the artificial devil fruit that was created that Momonosuke ate. I almost feel as though they're implying that this is in fact the case. Kaido's body was experimented on in the production of dragon DNA, which the world government used to reproduce various things relating to dragons. And again, based on this translation, it specifically said Kaido's body. Now, if he had a dragon devil fruit, I don't know if this would make as much sense as if Kaido was initially captured as an actual dragon. We know that dragons actually exist in the One Piece world, and why in the hell would they capture one of the strongest pirates, somebody who's eaten a dragon devil fruit, in order to recreate these creatures, if not like an actual dragon themselves, which would be far less dangerous? The only way this really works is if dragons are essentially completely extinct, and or there is no other dragon devil fruit to which they could possibly use. Either way, the line of Kaido's body being that of a dragon has me leaning towards something that I already believed beforehand. Not everyone agrees with me. Kaido is an actual dragon. I may be biased. I don't believe that he is called the strongest creature for absolutely no reason. And so bear with me for a moment. Based on everything that's said here, I've just got a crazy theory. I don't know if it's right or not. Let me know what you think. I have to throw it out there. But the celestial dragons worship dragons. Maybe they captured a real Eastern dragon, experimented on it a little bit to acquire DNA in order to reproduce more. And as we know, the celestial dragons like giving devil fruits that they've acquired to literally everything. If they are worshipping dragons, wouldn't it make some sense to feed a human model fruit to the dragon so that can be their ruler? Or achieve perhaps another level of sentience? And thus you would have the awakening of Kaido, the world's strongest creature. And people have already been talking about this in all my other videos, talking about Kaido being an actual dragon, but his backstory and his suicidal tendencies and his depression and drinking problem would all be explained by him being an actual dragon, especially if he's the last of his kind. That's why he doesn't care anymore. That's why he wants to die. But not before he destroys the world first. That would be the source of his rage, and likely the reason why the celestial dragons and the world government could not control him. And so being a creature first himself, that is why he created a crew called the Beast Pirates, the Animal Kingdom Pirates, specifically people who have zone-type fruits who resemble something that I think maybe he could relate with. And it also seems like in Wano, they are specifically recruiting a lot of the creatures themselves from Wano. But yeah, I just wanted to throw that out there, guys. First impression. Moving on to the next section, it says, so why are these celestial dragons so keen on creating dragon-like creatures and artificial dragon devil fruits? Why is it that they won't be satisfied without a dragon? Guys, this further reaffirms what it is that I sort of already talked about beforehand, connection between celestial dragons, dragons themselves, and huge questions that we should already be asking in the story, and I myself have in several videos in the past. The world government has an interest in dragons. I have two theories, the first of which is that dragons individually are extremely powerful creatures, so similar to the world government's interest in recreating giants, dragons would just be some kind of force in war that the world government wishes to utilize. However, the celestial dragons is almost like warship dragons. I think that the other way to look at this, and probably what I would prefer to believe at this time, unless somebody appeared with a better idea, is I think dragons could very easily have some kind of weather control abilities inherently. Now, there's not a lot of evidence for this, but there's just enough to pique my interest. The first of which is Kaido's entrance in Wano. How the sort of clouds are moving around him, it makes you wonder if he's not creating them. Of course, it could just be the smog. The other, and I think more powerful hint, is Momonosuke's ability as an artificial dragon type user. I mean, he can create clouds out of nothing. We assume that Momonosuke's devil fruit was a failure, but I mean, at the very least, this ability has to be connected to an actual ability that a dragon has, even if it's only a very much lesser version of it. That makes me think that dragons have weather-related abilities. And another low-key hint could be Dragon, the revolutionary himself, who I don't personally believe has a weather devil fruit, but uses his devil fruit in order to manipulate the weather. But without any specificities, I mean, a storm follows Dragon wherever it is that he goes. Being able to freely control the weather of the One Piece world is something that is, without it being so obvious, absurdly powerful. Think back to the Alabasta arc and sort of the premise behind Crocodile's plan. He used dance powder to control where it is that it rained. And because of that, he almost gained control of that entire island. Imagine if you are the Celestial Dragons, with the power of the dragons, which can manipulate the weather, you can take away the rain and the water, the fresh water for islands that don't join you, or that are your enemies. Or bring storms to sink their fleets so that they can never leave. Maybe create a wave to sink an entire island into the ocean. Or on the opposite side, clear the negative weather away from wherever it is that you want to live. But yeah, let's move on to the next section. What is yet to be unveiled about dragons? Black Box. As a side note, guys, I am now reading ARTUR's translation because it was a lot easier to follow than the original. And he changed a couple words to make it a lot easier to read. And he puts notes, black box is an expression for something yet unknown. Honestly, guys, the ominous vibes for what black box and what that means has me just on the edge of my seat. But yeah, let's read on. After consuming the artificial devil fruit made by Vegapunk, Momonosuke turns into a dragon. If we were to compare Momo's and Kaido's dragon forms, it's almost as if they are like a father and son. Was Momo turning into a dragon really just a coincidence? I think this, just like the previous section, emphasizes that Momonosuke's artificial devil fruit, if that is what he has consumed, is actually was created because of experimentation done to Kaido. Momonosuke is in fact carrying the DNA of Kaido. So in some sort of awkward way, he's Kaido's son? It's just really crazy to think about. And on the flip side, guys, this is a really old theory of mine that I think that not many people believe now as much as when I first, talked about it. But I still do think that it's worth throwing out there that there's a possibility that Momonosuke's artificial devil fruit that he ate didn't actually turn him into a dragon. It just awakened his own natural ability to transform. That is, that Momonosuke started off as a dragon beforehand. And the theory is that Momonosuke hatched from the egg on Gold D. Roger's ship, and was then raised by Odin. And dragons in a lot of mythologies have the ability to shapeshift between human and dragon form. But yeah, the whole purpose of me bringing this up isn't to really argue for this theory, but just add another layer of the what to the idea that Kaido might be Momonosuke's father. In this case, maybe quite literally. And so finally heading into the last section, it is titled Dragon quote unquote of the Revolutionary Army. How ironic is it that the leader of the Revolutionary Army who wishes to take down the Celestial Dragons is named Dragon himself? If the name was given to him by Garp, a Marine Vice Admiral who worked for the world government, and he gave it to him after he joined the Marines, did he give him such a name so that people would associate him with the leaders of the world government? Is it really all just a coincidence that someone named Dragon aims to take down the Celestial Dragons? The future of One Piece will focus on dragons. Honestly guys, this was the best damn news, spoilers, whatever you want to call it, that I have ever read, because it's just the perfect amount of asking questions, giving us more questions to ask rather than actually like revealing things. But talking about Dragon guys, the impression that I got from this is that Dragon's mother, or Luffy's grandmother, was a celestial dragon. That's how I interpreted this. This would make Garp and his wife's child a little dragon. This would also make Dragon himself half celestial dragon, potentially raised in MavisHdz. And this could give him a ridiculous amount of ammunition and history with these celestial dragons to later create the Revolutionary Army to oppose them. Most importantly is the idea that he is half celestial dragon, which I imagine meant that he would not have been treated very well. Also, being a celestial dragon, there's already a popular theory that Dragon married and fell in love with another celestial dragon, and that would be Luffy's mother. And that the celestial dragons wronged her, killed her, which set Dragon off. Again, is not out of the realm of possibility given these circumstances. Other than this, I am unsure why Garp would name his son Dragon and have that be connected in some way to the Celestial Dragons. Or as the magazine is sort of saying here, in this case it would be a coincidence. Unless Garp envisioned Dragon to one day become a Celestial Dragon or take them down. Both of which doesn't seem very likely. But yeah guys, that was some incredible news that I really feel like I had to share. News that honestly has me really hyped up. I don't know if what is said here is true or not. They put it in question form. I feel like it's a great discussion material. So let me know what you think. Like the video if you liked the video, dislike the video if you disliked the video. Make sure to subscribe if you want to be notified for my future content. And as always guys, have a wonderful day.